Welcome to the Family of Origin paper workshop presented by the Antioch Seattle Writing Lab. My name is Kalila Griffin and I am a peer writing consultant. I'm also a student in the CFT program at Antioch.
And my name is Lara Vanderwoud and I'm also a peer writing consultant and I'm in the CMHC program.
If any ideas come to mind during this video, feel free to pause us and take some notes. Additionally, if you have any questions, you can comment below on our YouTube channel or reach us directly via email. You can find our contact info below as well.
So we know that for some people, the idea of writing about your family might sound overwhelming or it might produce some anxiety. So if you're feeling that stress, please just refer to this meme. It is going to be okay.
So what is the Family of Origin paper and why do we write it here at Antioch?
One of the reasons is because identifying patterns in your own family is actually a great way to start applying some of the introductory theories you'll learn about and hopefully come to master.
This paper is a great way to start to unpack some of those parts of your family of origin that need exploration. It's also an opportunity to demonstrate your own level of differentiation and your ability to look at your life with some degree of objectivity or clarity.
Students sometimes feel uncomfortable writing negatively about their families. And it's important to strike a balance here. You are under no obligation and you really should not blame your family. It's really more about taking a clear look at the patterns that happen within your family system. The goal is to learn to apply theory and be clear about issues that might show up in your work with clients in the future.
These outlines are the two most common ways professors here ask you to format this paper. Check your syllabus to confirm which style you will be writing.
So this slide is relevant to both of the paper structures. In this section, you should focus on describing your family members as individuals, where they grew up, and the circumstances of their life.
It's often useful to organize this section, dividing it into the maternal and paternal sides. Don't get into relationships between family members just yet. That will come later. You can start introducing concepts like differentiation and parenting styles.
So from here, we'll focus specifically on the David format for a few slides and then switch over to the Honda Mathews format. Even if you're writing the Honda and Mathews version, though, some of this may give you ideas about what will be useful.
In the family relationship section of your paper, you will discuss how the behavior and habits of individual family members impacted relationships. Ideally, you'll be able to use academic content from your class readings to describe the quality of these relationships. For instance, using language like triangulation, enmeshment, or cutoff.
Remember to define and properly cite your terms. It's often helpful to refer back to the relational lines on your genogram to inform this section. You can also explore how relationships may have shifted as a result of the key life events you'll write about in the next section.
In this section, you'll focus on major events that occurred within your family and their impact on individuals and relationships. Some examples include a death or major illness, divorce, or relocation. If the key life event occurred on a larger scale, for example, as a result of a natural disaster or historical event, be sure to focus on the impact of this event within your family system.
For the sake of organization, try to refrain from explaining family relationships for the first time in this section. Discuss the impact of the event on relationships you've already discussed in the family relationships section.
In this section of your paper is about behavioral and relational patterns that have emerged in your family for multiple generations. For instance, tendencies that have been passed down intentionally or unintentionally from grandparent to parent to you or your siblings. Many of these patterns are most clearly seen when looking at your genogram. It can include both relational patterns such as a tendency towards distance, cutoff, or enmeshment, as well as apparently individual patterns like addiction or mental illness. These tendencies may also skip a generation.
This section can include cultural influences, traditions, rituals, and behaviors that have been passed down from one generation to another. This is an example of a genogram where you can see the patterns repeating across generations in the red squiggly relational line.
We will now transition to discuss the Honda/Mathews paper structure. Even if you're not writing from this outline, this material might spark some ideas. We'll discuss the Honda-Mathews structure for a few slides, then get back into more general information, so feel free to keep listening if you would like.
So the first section of your paper will discuss the early systems formation of your family. In this section, you might discuss the attachment styles of your parents and the circumstances surrounding their relationship and your birth. This section will include theoretical concepts regarding attachment styles.
The next section of your paper will focus on your family of origin, starting from your birth until the end of your adolescence. In this section, you will discuss the relationships you have with all the members of your family. This section would include theoretical concepts like enmeshment, cutoff, and disengagement.
In this next part of the workshop, we will discuss the writing process, citations, and resources for students.
Students sometimes find themselves struggling to integrate their family story and the theoretical concepts while writing this paper. To remedy this, we recommend starting with a concept first. For example, enmeshment. The writer would then find an example from their family of origin that fits this concept.
Another easy way to organize your paragraphs would be to begin by defining the concept using a citation, and in the next sentence, paraphrase the concept in your own words or use a direct quote. The rest of the paragraph would then detail your family example. If you find yourself feeling unsure that the example is the right fit for the concept, consult. Talk with a fellow classmate, professor, or take another look at your readings.
You certainly aren't required to stick to this formula. It's just a really solid place to start to ensure that you're integrating academic and personal material well. When discussing theoretical concepts, make sure to cite them properly throughout the paper. Taking care with citations protects you from inadvertently plagiarizing someone else's work and helps to communicate to your instructor that you have a solid grasp of the course material.
Here's an example of a bad citation. Despite the shamey tone of this slide, don't feel bad if you've done this. We include it here because it happens so frequently. The reason this citation is problematic is that it implies that Bradshaw and Johnson were speaking specifically about the writer's family, not about the theoretical concepts of differentiation, family dynamics, and marital dances.
To properly cite these concepts, the writer should introduce them first, then use the family example afterwards.
Next, we will present some examples of how to properly cite a variety of different resources. We'll start with unpublished class handouts. To cite them in text, include the author name and the year the handout was created. If there are multiple handouts from the same author, organize them alphabetically by title in your reference page. Then insert a letter from the alphabet starting with A after the year, so that handouts from the same author can be differentiated in your in-text citations.
When citing an in-class handout in your reference page, also include the quarter you received the handout, the class, and the institution.
For published class handouts, cite them as though you were using the original text.
To cite secondary sources, include the name of the primary source, then in parentheses write as cited by, then the name of the secondary author and the year it was written by them. The year the primary source was written does not need to be included.
Try to avoid using secondary sources if you can. They can be complicated to cite, and primary sources are better because they come directly from the source.
Remember, it's important to communicate with your professor any concerns or questions you have throughout the course. Your professor cares about knowing how, cares about you knowing how to complete your assignments. So reach out to them regarding any questions you have. You can usually reach your professor via email, their office hours, or before and after class. We encourage you to visit us in the writing lab for a 25 or 50-minute sessions. Walk-ins are also always welcome, although an appointment is recommended, especially as the quarter ramps up.
We offer one-on-one support with any assignment, and we'll work with you at any stage of the writing process, from brainstorming to APA formatting to proofing and editing. The writing lab is staffed by Antioch Seattle graduate students, most of whom have written the Foo Paper themselves. We understand that discussing your family is not the easiest thing, so we want to be clear that our services are confidential and non-judgmental.
Feel free, please, to post any questions in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video.
Good luck.